Hello, this is Kate Stillman with yogahealer.com, and I'm here with Dina Krasta of yogadina.com, and Dina is going to be our next Body Thrive coach. And what I like to do is really get a sense of like why you're doing what you're doing, and you just have gone through coaching a group, and what's lighting you up about coaching people right now?
Well, the thing that I found really cool and has been exciting for me is that noticing with the students that, or having them realize that there's always room for change. Like a lot of them came into the course with, talking about a little bit of body aches and pains and just feeling their biological age. I had a pretty wide range of ages from like mid 30s up to 70. And so it was a really interesting group. And, just feeling where they were at and then seeing the difference over the course of the 10 weeks into wow, I can actually wake up and have energy, or I don't feel as stiff and as tired as I was, before the course. So that it's just really exciting how these simple little things make such a big impact in these ways that we just usually just accept like, oh, well, that's just aging.
Yeah, there's a lot of cultural momentum that perpetuates that belief. And then I think a large part of what we do as yoga health coaches is like really wake people up to like everything's always changing.
Yeah.
What you're experiencing is a result of the past. If you want to change what you're experiencing, then you've got to change what you normally do, what's normal. Right. And then you're going to be vibrating at a totally different reality, which has different thoughts, beliefs, ideas, assumptions, relationships, like the whole gambit, and sensations in the physical body. So if you don't like your current bodily sensations, maybe there's too much pain or too much mood or, just too much distance, where you just don't feel at home in yourself and attuned and vibrant and alive, then like that's a choice. Like you're making choices, right? So that's cool. It sounds like people really kind of got that like hit of, whoa, what I do matters.
They really did. And I have to say this, my mom actually ended up joining the course. And at first, like, I wasn't really sure if I was going to have her in the course because, it was just, I just wasn't sure, like, can I coach my mom, because we have a history, and all of that.
You have history, like all of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Like she knows me, she knows all of my sides. And, but actually it was really amazing. Like she came into the course and, really embraced it in a way that honestly, like, it was like I had an identity change based on how I was seeing her. And it was pretty impressive, on her end. And she even went through her own little mini like detox through the like end of this tail end of the course. Like she spent I think it was like 5 days doing she found her own cleanse. I didn't lead her through, but it was like some kind of water juice cleanse. Yeah. And she goes, I can't believe like the difference that I feel in my body. And to me, that was like such a huge shift, because she's always watched me and I think, thought everything I was doing was a little strange and all of that. And now she's like, I really get it, Dina. I really get why you're so passionate about all this stuff. So if nothing else, that was like a huge, huge breakthrough for both of us.
That is so beautiful. And when you wrote to me about it, you said she's starting to choose like water and things that are hydrating over like soda and things that are just inflaming.
Totally.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's huge.
Gracie's mom did her Body Thrive group, and it's neat to see. I'm like, wow, this is so neat. I get emails every day from the different courses of like, can I bring my spouse? Can I bring my sister, mother, child? And it's so empowering, isn't it? When like all of a sudden now, the core people that, when you go back to your peeps for holidays and that, it's like you have a whole different way of relating, connecting, and now the vibration of those meetings is going to happen at a totally different level, right? So you're not just like in that like cycle where you're like, oh, we're having the same conversation again.
Right.
Like now you get to have a whole new conversation.
Yeah, we get to, and it's way more interesting because you're not kind of stuck in that like, humdrum of like, okay, now we do this and now we do this. Like there's a possibility that like, hey, we can actually go for a walk after we eat as opposed to sitting there and just, complaining or whatever, whatever you kind of normally do.
Like the devolution. Yeah, that's beautiful. So I'd love to hear too, for you personally, because we all as coaches are on this journey with our students, and we get to go round and round and round, just like nature's rhythms that goes cycle and cycle and cycle. So there's a repetition on one hand, and on the other hand, there's the paradox of like everything's always changing. Right. So as you're going deeper into the 10 habits of yoga health coaching with your students and deeper into the basic teachings of Ayurveda, the most fundamental teachings, what are you noticing in yourself?
Honestly, the thing for me hasn't been really there's been the physical component of like waking up with more energy and all of that. But the big thing for me, and this is still like an evolving point, is like I tend to be somebody that's like anxious and like a perfectionist, where I tend to like, because of that, I'll tend to like hide a little bit, because if it doesn't feel perfect or doesn't feel right, I may not like step into something. But really learning how to go with the flow more and let things evolve as they're naturally supposed to, if that makes sense. Like, we set up the conditions, like the habits are such great guidelines. Yeah. And then we let nature do its thing, and that's been huge, because I tend to be somebody that's like, okay, I have to do this, and then I have to do this. And if it doesn't fit in my mental box, then it creates anxiety. So this has been really nice to learn how to actually relax more. So it's been huge, and especially working with people, like being relaxed in the space with others, like helps everybody else relax. Yeah. And so we're all really moving together in this beautiful process.
I love that. And like I get the sense of like being wound up tight and then just like letting some of that unwind, and you're like, wow, there's so much more grace, flow, energy, right? That, and the habit that we teach that in is easeful living, right? And that's what I hear from yoga health coaches across the board, is the more experience they get, the more they're like, oh my gosh, I'm in easeful living. Like I'm shifting from stressful living to easeful living, and I'm a yoga teacher, or I'm a doctor or a nurse or whatever. And I didn't even realize I was so tightly, basically dualistic, like keeping myself separate from just being in ease and being in flow. And the habits provide so much structure that all of a sudden the flow we can start to really feel much more of that intrinsic connection, intrinsic support of universal energy, and it's big. It's really big.
It is. It's really big, and it's so funny because you and I come from the same yoga background as far as Anusara and all that, and that was like the big thing, is like stepping into the flow of grace. And I actually think after it's like 14 years now, like this is what that means. Well, because it was something that was very mental for me for a long time. And now it really feels like it's more embodied.
It's so beautiful, right? And then what I think of that is like, and then it'll keep going, right? Like in 2 years, we'll have the same conversation, and you'll be like, "Wow,
totally different."
Yeah.
Or
you'll get, there's so many different planes to connect with that on. And I think what's so powerful too, when a yoga health coach really shares what's shifting in her personally or him personally, is really that sense of like the depth dimension of it. Like, wow, like this just invites me into even more depth in my experience. And now when people come to you, because that's your deep realization that's continuing to unfold, people will, naturally the anxious will come to you. Like naturally those who are like, because we still have that vibe in us of like, oh, we still put that out a little bit, enough so that other people can connect and get help. And that to me is so exciting. I had an interview yesterday with one of my students from Driggs, Idaho, from, I don't know, she said 8 years ago was her first yogi detox. So it's been a long time. And now she has her own podcast channel. It's vixie.com. And what she was sharing was all this stuff around eating disorders. And I'm like, I didn't even know that I helped her with all these eating disorders.
Yeah.
Right? But now who does she serve? She serves all these people with that. And in the same way, you'll be serving those that like kind of hold themselves apart or wind themselves up tight. And then you show them that like, wow, that's optional. Like I did that for a really long time. There's a better way.
It's possible to relax. It really is.
It's possible to relax. So just in closing, what message do you have for people that are thinking about this, that are sensing like, wow, I really need to shift, and I really want to do this, but maybe I'm holding back because of old beliefs about, how change really works, or afraid of being in an online course, or they just don't invest in themselves, even though the payoff is huge. So what message do you have for?
I mean, to me, it's kind of a simple choice, because you're choosing yourself, you're choosing self-care, you're choosing self-love. And even, I say it's simple, but sometimes it's not easy, because we're not used to considering ourselves in that way. It's always about kind of needing that external verification for okay, now I can give myself this massage, or this gift, or now the way that sometimes I think culturally we think of giving ourselves permission to let go is through using alcohol or pot or whatever, even just eating, or having that weekend bender. Though I'm sure a lot of us here aren't on that plane so much.
I totally get you. Or going out for a fancy dinner, even though you're I don't feel that good after those, right? We have these ways of rewarding ourselves that are totally out of sync with
kind of where we deeply long to be. So it's kind of, to me, it's a way of choosing self-care and self-love in a way that's so much more it lasts longer. It becomes this timeless thing that you can always have, as opposed to that, not saying I don't like a fancy meal every now and again, but that's great. But like you said, then, I feel bloated, or I feel exhausted the next day, or whatever. So don't wait. That's my advice.
Right. And I just hear your mother saying the same thing in the background. She's right. My kid, she's totally helped me. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Dina. It's just been awesome to connect with you, and I love to really help people know who, just who they're going to be working with. It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really excited to meet everyone, and to share and shift and evolve together. So thanks for the opportunity.